All right. Good day, everyone. Thank you so very much for tuning in to today's show, right? On YouTube. Thank you so much. For those that have subscribed, thank you so much. For those that are yet to subscribe, your subscription will go a wide reach if you do so, and your engagement with this video, it will go so far for us. All right. That being said, let me not keep you so long in the introduction. All right. The next person I'm bringing, right, the next engineer, if I may say, or the next person that's coming to talk, I've known him for more than 10 years now, and he's a very fantastic person. From a developer, I know him in Nigeria to when he relocated to Canada, right? So for those who are in Canada that are looking for, or for those who are in Nigeria that are looking for ways to connect to travel abroad or to travel outside the country, I feel this is a great video you need to listen to, right? So, but our guest today, I've known him for more than 10 years, right? And he's very solid in his work. And I've worked with him closely, and I know how he delivers on projects, he delivers on tasks. I've seen him rise in his career. I've seen him when he was in Nigeria, elevated different promotion, different industries looking out for him and all that, right? But in order for me not to bore you with the introduction, I'm going to leave the mic, give over the mic to him so that he does the introduction himself and who is he, and from there we take the conversation further. All right, Caleb, the floor is yours.
Hello. Thanks for the introduction. Yes, my name is Caleb. I've known Tolu for quite a while, and it's a pleasure to be here. Speaking of background experience, technical experience, yes, I've been in the IT industry for upward of close to 15 years now. Yeah, I've been loving it. Yeah.
Thank you so very much. He's very humbled, right? But today we'll learn so much from him, right? And I feel one conversation, to get the conversation started, I have known Caleb while he was in Nigeria before we relocated to Canada. And one question or one discussion I feel we need to have is, who is a platform engineer, right? I've seen it in your profile on LinkedIn, and some people don't have an idea who a platform engineer is. So can you give us the introduction who a platform engineer is, and we'll take the discussion further?
Yeah, good question. So to answer that question, I would like to provide some background information. I started out in the tech industry from my first job in 2007. Yeah, I sound like a dinosaur, but that's fine. So my first job was that of a web developer in Nigeria. And then I was on that job. And the day-to-day for that job was creating content management systems for websites. So breaking it down, we had web designers that created websites. Banks and other industries. And then these websites had dynamic content. What I mean is, when you log into a website, you want to see personalized content saying, welcome to Lu, this is your private portal and things like that. So all that information is being fed from a database. So you have something like a school portal where you register your courses, where you see your lectures and all that. So all that information about your department, your courses, the courses you have registered for and all that is fed from a database. And that's the content management system. So my role on that job was grab the data from the database for this particular user and display it on the website. So this was different from what we learned in school. So I had to upskill. I had to develop new skills. So what we were taught in school was QBasic, Fortran, and all those dinosaur languages. But then coming to the web, and the bare minimum we were taught in school was HTML. So we were just taught that in theory. So I had to move from just knowing basic HTML to being able to write ASP. ASP is the grandfather for ASP.NET. So being able to do that. And then I was on that job for 3 months. And then I moved to another job at Lagos State University. I was a systems, what do you call that now? I was something also in the role of web developer. So at that time in 2007, when I joined Lagos State University was just developing their e-portal, e-portal that all schools now use. So they were moving all their online registration for students, biodata courses and all that to the web. And so I joined that team, and I was on that team for over almost 2 years. And then I transitioned from then again. I moved back to the private sector, where I was an applications developer at a telecoms company in Lagos. And there I got introduction into the world of Linux. So that was the first time I learned how to use Linux. All the cryptic commands, all the all the terminal and all that. And that was my first introduction to that. And then my career continued again. I now moved into the financial services sector. I worked for a pension. So the reason why I'm throwing all this background is I moved to show you the transition from all that point up to where I'm at as a platform engineer. And so my last role in Nigeria was in year 2020, where I also worked as a more like a systems admin or IT support person. And then moving to Canada, I realized that I had to learn new skills. I had to unlearn or relearn things I needed to do. So at that point, I discovered that the cloud was in its infancy stage. Lots of banks, lots of organizations were beginning to make more efficient use of their cloud adoption. So I had to learn about the cloud and all that. And then I moved into a bank in Canada as a software engineer, and we're working on cloud projects. And then by stroke of fate, I was moved to another team, and the role I was given was a platform engineer. And so and so it was just a stroke of luck. So we had this internal platform where all departments had to sign up to use that platform. So it was a big Kubernetes cluster, and we were given the assignment to manage that cluster, to help various departments sign up to the cluster for their developers. So we had developers in different departments, and they needed to onboard to that cluster, to bring their applications to the cluster, to deploy their applications. And we were assigned the role of managing the cluster, seeing is there any wrong deployment, is there any deployment that is grabbing all the resources, get the logs from all the other departments and advise them how to use the cluster, help them resolve issues basically. So that's what a platform engineer does. A platform engineer creates an internal development environment. So major customers were the developers from the different departments. And so we would write code, we would maintain the platform for the developers. So basically we are the mechanic for the mechanics, something like that.
So much.
So that's it.
I feel we are getting ahead of ourselves. You said something I was going to ask you. So 2 weeks back, I had the opportunity to coach or to teach children, right? And I found out that sometimes if you are explaining technical terms, it might be very hard for them to understand. So, but you mentioned one word I was going to ask you. How will you explain to a 5-year-old Kubernetes what it means? How will you explain it to a 5-year-old?
So back in the days of computing, let's take a First Bank, for example. So then we used to hear, First Bank has a data center somewhere on the mainland or something like that. And then if you want to say deploy a new application, sometimes your engineers need to take a CD drive and then take it to that data center and then install and do all that. And then you have one rack. So servers were positioned in racks.
Yeah.
They were placed in racks.
Yeah.
And then you have this rack maybe for your credits applications, that your credits applications will be deployed in these servers in this rack.
Yeah.
And then the other rack will be for HR applications.
Yeah.
And the thing is, each server could only run a particular type of application. And so then they will need to buy maybe hundreds of servers, lots of servers and things like that. And that's not very efficient, because it would mean you buy a new server for each type of application and all that.
Yeah.
So with Kubernetes and the cloud, you can buy a single server, partition it into various sizes, various partitions, and deploy multiples of applications on the same server, on the same infrastructure. And if you need to create a brand new environment, you can do all that seamlessly at the click of a button.
Yeah.
And so there's this new concept in computing called containerization. So what containerization does is it packages your application and everything your application needs to run into a container. So for example, a Windows application, all the DLL files, all the files it needs, everything will be in one container.
Yeah.
Or say, for example, you wrote an HR application, everything will be packaged in one container.
Yeah.
And then all these containers would run in Kubernetes, and Kubernetes is like an orchestrator. Kubernetes manages how those applications run. And so it will make sure that those applications never go down. So if there is an error or anything, Kubernetes is able to restart that application. Or for example, if you have a Black Friday sale, and then you have written an application for users to create their orders, to sign up their orders, Kubernetes will make sure that today is Black Friday, I'm receiving like 10 times the number of requests I used to get on a normal day. Kubernetes will create multiples of that application and scale it up and scale it out so that it can handle all those number of requests. So you don't need to have an engineer sitting down saying, this server is running out of CPU. Let's quickly create another server and quickly roll out a new application, because we have like 10 times the number of users we used to have on a regular day.
Yeah.
Kubernetes would see that spike and quickly create multiples so that you don't need to wake up at 2 a.m. and say, orders have started dropping. We can customers can't make new orders because the system is overwhelmed. Or say, for example, when Nigeria says, everybody should go and register BVN, and then on Friday evening, everyone wants to do their BVN because the deadline is on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then the system crashes because it can't handle that load. Or for example, exam starts on Monday, and students need to register their courses by Friday evening.
Yeah.
If not, they won't be able to attend. They won't be able to sit for the exam on Monday. And then, like, all the remaining students want to start registering their courses on Friday night.
Yeah.
And then the system dies because the application was not designed to handle 20,000 users, 20,000 students registering on the same day.
Yeah.
But with this, Kubernetes is able to see, now I have 7 times the regular load I used to have on a regular day.
Yeah.
And then it creates multiple databases, multiple of the application. And so it can handle that load. So all that thing about the system is we have downtime, or when you get into a bank and they say you can't check your account balance because the system is overwhelmed, there is downtime. All that is a thing of the past. Is a thing of the past, because
Yeah.
that thing about downtime is because maybe the system is saturated and then you have like 15 times the regular number of users.
Mm.
So Kubernetes is able to see all that load, scale up the system, scale it out so that it can handle so much more load. And that's
Mm.
what it does for you.
Mm. For me, when you're talking, one thing that came to my mind, I feel that when we want to explain to a 5-year-old, I'll tell the 5-year-old that, see, remember the restaurant we went to that they kept us standing because we already had an existing customer already eating, right? If you have Kubernetes, it will plan for us to have a whole lot
Multiple
of people
servers, yeah.
a whole lot of people coming to that restaurant to eat. So next time you are planning to go to a restaurant, the restaurant will know the occasion for the day. Let's say Christmas. So because Christmas is coming, the restaurant has already captured the fact that they will have times 10 the amount of crowd. So what the restaurant will do, it will factor it in its planning and accommodate such people so that they are not caught unawares. All right.
Let me modify that. So the restaurant may not even know that
Mm,
there is so many number of customers coming in.
mm,
But when it starts seeing that huge number of customers, then it
mm,
starts creating one more server here, one more server
mm.
here, one more server here, because there are more customers coming in and they are not stopping.
Yeah.
So the restaurants automatically just starts creating one more serving point, one more serving point, one more serving point. So it's on an on the fly kind of thing.
Yeah. Wow. You have said a lot. Thank you so much. Right. And as we are talking, something kind of struck my mind that, okay, did you always have this energy, this zeal for tech, or where did that come in? Is it before you entered university, or how? I don't know. How did you get into tech?
Again, it's by stroke of luck. And so back when I was finishing school, secondary school in '99, I wanted to get in the oil industry. I
Everybody
wanted
wants to get
to
into the oil industry.
So I was looking for a way to get into the oil industry. So in my jam form, I filled geology or mineral resources engineering. And then maybe I wasn't serious enough. I think I wasn't serious enough. I scored low in jam. And then, so my dad just advised me, why not do computer science?
Hmm.
And because I'm a gentle kid, I used to listen to my parents. I think I still do. So I just said, yeah, 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 that's fine. I'll take it. I'll take it. And so I went into computer science. And the first semester when they taught us basic, advanced, I think further maths and all that. And then in the second semester, they started teaching us programming.
Hmm.
And they started with QBasic.
Hmm.
All through the lecture periods, I didn't understand what they were talking about. And I even went for tutorial classes at night. And I would just sit down, and then the instructor or the students would just dump everything at us, and it wasn't I wasn't clocking it. It wasn't gelling at all. So, and my plan was I'm going to cram this thing and go into the exam hall and just dump it. But then in the exam hall, the question came and said, write a program to calculate the simple interest. It's principal times rate times time
Hmm.
divided by 100. So at that point in the exam hall, I knew, guy, you have to face this thing. Everything that I crammed, immediately under that tension, I forgot it. So that my plan had failed at that point. So I now said, okay, you have to sit down and face this thing. Think like a computer. How would you approach this thing? You take the inputs, you process the inputs, and you display the output. What is the inputs? Take the principal, take the rate, and take the time. Now you have taken those three inputs. What is the process? The next line you should write is the formula to calculate simple interest.
Hmm.
So the mathematical formula wasn't a problem because I knew PRT, principal times rate times time divided by 100. And how do you translate it into computer language? I knew times in programming, you write a star, and then you need to add the brackets, so it shows the order you are multiplying by, what do you do first, and all that. I managed to write that. That was the second line. And so input was done, process was done, and what was the last part? The output. I knew, okay, in Kubernetes, to display the output, you use print, the word print. And I knew you have to assign the result to a variable. So I think I did that in the second line. And the third line, I just wrote the print to display the interest. And that was how I conquered the fear of that programming. When I finished attempting that question, I knew I had got it right. And that was the point that changed my life. Wow. Or changed my career, literally.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I knew I had done it. I knew I had overcome this fear.
Yeah.
And after that point, the next semester, they taught us Fortran and all that. So one thing, at that point, I knew I was built for this. I was going to do this.
Yeah.
And then in subsequent semesters, the rest of the class still hadn't got it. I think the few of us that got it were like 10 or 15, like 10% of the class.
Wow.
And so going forward, all my mates would bring their assignments to me, help me with this assignment, help me write this. It seems you have got this thing, this guy. So help us fix this thing.
Yeah.
So as they were giving me their stuff to work on to help them with, I started getting more proficient.
Wow.
So I think two lessons I would like to bring from that is, one, face your fears. You can't keep running away forever. At a point you have to sit down and say, this thing, it's me and you today. Let's either you kill me or I kill you today. Yeah. And then secondly, the more you practice by giving yourself things to solve or helping other people. I think that's a good one. Helping people solve their problems, you get more proficient. So what they should have paid you for helping them, they are paying you in experience, which will help you later in life. When I was in school, I've seen enough errors to last me for a long time in my career.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think I've solved a lot of problems, and then that gave me boldness to be able to tackle any kind of issue later in my career.
Wow. Wow, thank you so very much. I've written face your fears, and I feel sometimes every time people are trying to take certain career decisions, they are looking for a less risky path that they can take.
Yeah.
So rather than facing their fears, okay, this thing is going to be hard, but I'm willing to devote my time into it to make sure that I'm among the, just like you rightly said, among the 10% that know this thing. And when I'm among the 10%, definitely more opportunities begins to come, right? And the second one, you now said that being able to solve people's problem, because you keep practicing, and you keep getting better, right? And that kind of leads us to the next conversation. What is the difference between a DevOps engineer and someone who is a platform engineer? Are they the same thing or they're two different things?
Both of them have the same parents, but they are different people. So what is common to both of them is they have a kind of they have some experience with development. Yeah. Both of them support developers, or they help to bring the code from just code into a software product. And you can't support something you don't know about. Yeah. So you have to have basic understanding about how software works, how software runs on the machine, on the server, or on the computer. So for DevOps, it's a culture bridging development and operations. So developers just want to write code. Sure. They want to implement new features. They want to add that login, logout button. They want to be able to, so that when you log into a portal, you can see your order history, or you can see what you did in the last 3 weeks and all that. But then operations people want stable environments. Yeah. They don't want, because you added a new feature yesterday, the whole system is down because there are new errors. So that's mismatch between a developer wanting to push new features and an operations person wanting a stable environment that doesn't give them surprises. So that's where DevOps is born. DevOps aims that what the developer is bringing is error-free, can integrate, can sit well with what is already existing, and being able to deliver fast. Because a developer wants to quickly add a new feature, wants to do magic, wants to do more magic. But an operations person doesn't want surprises. Even if it's the same version that has been running since like 10 years ago, I beg, don't give me a headache.
Yeah.
That's the mindset of an operations person, a stable, a predictable environment. So DevOps helps to bridge that gap, transiting the code from what a developer has delivered to what runs optimally and predictably in an operations environment. And the pillar for that is continuous integration, continuous testing, continuous delivery. So as a developer is writing the code is going into the existing software and being tested so that there is no issue, there's no error, there's no surprises. Whereas a platform engineer provides the platform, provides a product by which the developer can do his work. So let me give you an example. Back when one of the companies where I worked back in Nigeria, we had a database server for production, that's for the production environment, for the live environment, and one for the test environment.
Yeah.
And we're always told, don't test on the production database. But the production database is where your live data is. And that's like the truest test of what you are delivering.
Yeah.
And to get a backup, to get another environment that is similar, a clone of the production environment, it may take weeks because the server administrator has to do all sorts of gymnastics behind the background. He has to create a new server. He has to do this and do that. But with a platform engineer, you'll be able to help you create an environment for you to test your work in minutes. So instead of taking weeks and weeks of going to the data center and buying a new server and all that, with a platform engineer that creates a platform, a product for you as a developer to be able to test your work, it will be done in minutes. So for example, you are writing a new feature and you need a clone of the database. You can just point and click and say, okay, give me a clone of the database. I need to test this thing. And once you are done testing, to save money, to save costs, the platform should be designed in such a way that once you say, I'm done, it should just destroy everything you have done and then free up that space for any other new person that wants to test.
Yeah.
So the platform engineer creates a platform for developers where they can test their work and has that mindset of a product. So you want to create a new environment where you want to test your work. Everything is at a click of a button. Mm-hmm. So your database server, your application server, your middleware, everything, all the server, everything you need for your work is just created as a single product.
Yeah.
And once you are done with your work, everything is destroyed, everything is turned down. So it speeds up the developer time. So back then, we used to do all sorts of gymnastics. We used to do all sorts of, let me quickly connect to the prod environment and test. And they must not catch you. Yeah. So it makes a developer's life easier. And because as a developer, you are thinking, I need to quickly write this code. And then you hit a roadblock. The server is not ready. And all that enthusiasm, all that ginger in your body just goes down because now you have a roadblock. Now you can't continue your work.
Yeah.
But with a platform engineer creating a platform for developers to test, everything is just seamless. You want something, you get it now. But if a developer is working and then he wants to test something, he wants to do something, and then the server, he hears from the manager that the server will take 3 weeks, the environment will take 3 weeks to create, and he says, oh my God, what am I? And then at the end of 3 weeks, when he's ready to do the work again, he has forgotten all the thought process, what he wants to write. So so that the platform engineer helps to improve the developer experience. So the developer wants to write some code at 3 a.m. He doesn't need to wait till the next morning and file a ticket before the environment is ready for him to test. At 3 a.m., when the inspiration is high, when he wants to do his work, when he wants to write his code, the environment is ready for him to do the work. He doesn't need to call anyone. He doesn't need to file any ticket. At the click of a button, everything he needs to work is ready for him. Because this thing is inspirational.
Yeah.
Once you forget that flow of thought as a programmer, guy, it will take you some time to come back.
Wow. Thank you so very much. You really hammered so much on this. What's the difference between DevOps and engineer, platform engineer? Thank you so much, right? And one question, it kind of leads me to the next discussion, right? So for those that are trying to enter into your role, being a platform engineer, right? Or they're trying to know your daily routines, right? Your daily routines, what is expected of them, and how they should go about it, right? So let me just say, give me a day in your life of a platform engineer. What is expected from like a Monday to a Friday? What are the activities in between?
Yeah, so I think that depends on the kind of service you support. That depends on the kind of environment you support. So, for example, for a platform engineer that serves developers, that serves data engineers, for example, you monitor ETL pipelines, you monitor database servers, you monitor databases, you monitor how long it takes for their ETL jobs to run. ETL means extract, transform, and load, and all those kinds of things. For someone that is managing, that is supporting developers that are writing maybe CRM systems, you want to monitor things like your email server, and stuff like that. And for some other platform engineers that support monitoring and logging. So, for example, in one of the roles where I've worked, so my team was capturing all the logs from the whole enterprise. And this is a huge organization. We had branches in Asia, the major countries in Asia. All their logs, whether it's database server, applications, even up to the phones that each person uses, all the logs that are generated come to Canada, come to North America. And so that's huge. All that logs coming in every day, we have to support that platform. We have to make sure it's always up and running. So depending on the kind of the kind of product you are supporting as a platform engineer, your day-to-day differs. But what is common to all of it is monitoring the health of the platform, writing scripts, writing code, small scripts that developers can use and which you yourself can use to automate your work. So basically it's automating infrastructure creation, creating reusable scripts which developers can use, and stuff like that.
Thank you so very much, right? And I feel you said a lot about for people that are like day to day, for those that are interested in joining in, Kai, right? And it kind of leads to the next conversation, right? So for those that want to break into tech, right, do you think they need to have a computer science degree just like you for them to come into the tech space?
So I watched the last episode you had with the backend developer, and it was really insightful. One thing that struck me was the way he got into tech. So from what I heard, he's also, I think he was a mining engineer. He studied mining engineering. Yeah, and he wanted to create software for a particular problem in mining engineering. And that the solution for that was to learn how the IT industry works. So that was how he got into the IT industry. So my recommendation for anyone from a non-technical role trying to pivot into tech is look for something that you would like to solve in your sector and use that as an inroad into tech. So say, for example, you are a customer service person, and then you have callers that always call in. You record all those calls in an Excel document. And then at the end of the week, you generate a report. So you can start from there to write a VBA. That's a Visual Basic for Application. So some kind of automation for that Excel to generate your report. And in that, you have started your automation journey. So just look for something that you would like to solve using the computer in your particular area. So there's this proverb in my language, I'm a Yoruba guy, that says, Ibi pelebe lati moleje. So what it means is you tackle the easy problem first. So take it from the easy part. You can't say you want to get into tech now and then you come from maybe a banking and finance background and say you want to learn about Kubernetes. If you go to a boot camp and they say they will teach you Kubernetes in 3 months, they are just eating your money. Because at the end of the day, you come out more confused than you already were. So take it from the easy part. So what's this thing that you would like to solve in your domain? And then go for that, because that will keep your interest going. Yeah. And that will make more sense to you.
Yeah.
So you can then apply your domain into the tech world and from there start learning the hard parts. But if you do a deep dive and then jump into the hard parts, you part away with your money and then you get more confused and then you lose that interest. That's my 2 cents.
Wow. Thank you so very much for that insight you dropped, right? And I feel it kind of leads to the next conversation, right? I know you have worked with codes with systems like Python, Bash, Kubernetes, which you explain, Terraform. But beyond that, which of these skills should beginners focus on first?
So it depends on what you're trying to do, right? And I think of all what you have listed, I think Python is the easiest. So I'll say Python.
Thank you so much. And it kind of leads me, because most times, every time we have discussions with technical people, right? I've had several conversations with technical people and all that, right? But beyond technical skills, what other skills do you think has helped you also grow that are non-technical?
So non-technical skills, I think, and I know because I've experienced it, one, you need to be patient. You need to be very patient. So you're writing some code, it doesn't work the first time. You try, it doesn't work again the second time. You try the third time, it doesn't work. You don't just throw up your hands and give up.
Yeah.
No, you learn to be patient, because I have a saying that the computer knows when you are desperate. When you are trying to fight it and say you must work, that's when it won't work. So you need to calm down. You need to be very, very calm, right? You need to be logical. You need to have a thought process. Break it down into systems. Break it down into A, B, C. Okay, if I'm this computer, would I work with this condition? And then you need to be able to introspect and ask yourself, why is this thing not working? So most times when I'm working and then the obvious is not working, I'm writing some code and it's not working, and then I've tried and tried and tried. Instead of getting hysterical and getting erratic, it's at that point I need to calm down. This thing is trying to tell me something and I need to listen. And then I think that will also help in day-to-day. That patience helps me in dealing with my wife and my kids. You need to be patient. And using the computer has taught me patience. And then I translate that into relating with human beings. And then that patience also works for me. And then secondly, you need to have grit. Grit is G-R-I-T. You need to have that stickiness and saying, I need to see the end of this. I need to get to the end of this. I need to get to the root of this. I'm not giving up. I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm not throwing up my hands. And before calling for help, before calling for that senior colleague or that your friend to help you, try all the means to solve it yourself first, because that's what is going to help you build your mental muscles. So instead of always calling for help every time, try every possible option. And the thing is, if you invite someone else to help you solve your problem, you are giving them the experience you should be having. So learn to see things through. Learn to see things, learn to get to the bottom of things. And then don't be emotional when you're working with technical things like programming and all that. Don't be emotional and say, but this thing should work now. I've done everything he said I should do now. No, be logical, be factual. You have to be logical. You have to be able to think step by step and stop thinking, oh, this thing should respect me now. I've spent like 7 hours. This thing is still not working. Won't it just help me? Sometimes when I'm working and then I'm saying, please, can you just work? I've been here for like 2 hours and you are still not working. Why? No, the computer doesn't send you. Like, let me put it that way. It doesn't send you until you do what it's asking for. Even if you like, spend 3 days, it still will not work. Even if you like, go to Shiloh, go to Canaan land and go and pray. If you have not done what it wants you to do, it will not work. So separate facts from emotions and be logical. It's not about emotions. It's not about how long you have spent. It's not about, I'm a Christian and all that. It's not about how much you have prayed. If you are not obeying the basic principles, what is telling you to do, it won't work. So patience, grit, being logical, separating facts from emotions. And I think the technical part, never stop learning. Never stop learning. Never stop learning. Because the moment you stop learning, you become a dinosaur. And this field is fast changing.
Thank you so much, right? And for me, I feel one thing I wanted to also, you kind of leads me to the next discussion, right? What has been one of the challenge you have faced on the job, and it's in two parts. So what has been one of the challenge you have overcame that you thought it was very difficult, one of the hardest challenge you have ever faced on the job, and how did you even overcome it?
I've gone through a lot of them. I'm sorry, I really can't remember, because in this game, in this field, the next challenge is the biggest challenge, right? And the thing is, before you solve any problem, at that point it's your biggest challenge, and then you think, oh, I'm going to give up. This thing is too hard. I'm not going to do it again. And then after you solve it, you think, oh, that small thing. Oh, I remember I was able to fix it. And then it becomes, oh, that small thing. And back then you were thinking, oh, this is the end of me. I'm just going to give up after this. I'm just going to retire after this. No. And it's just like a woman undergoing labor. And then at that point, when she wants to deliver the baby, she thinks, oh, I'm never going to get pregnant again in my life. If this man comes near me, I'm going to do anything. But then after she gives birth, then she sees the tiny little baby. And 3 years later, she's asking her husband, Oga, let's have another baby now. Oga, how far now? So that's it with technical people. Sometimes you face some challenges, some difficult assignments, and then you think, this thing is not for me. I'm not going to do it again in my life. How can this thing be so hard? But then when you solve it, and then your mental muscles grow, you tell the next problem, oh, bring it on, I can solve the next problem. So I really have solved, being modest, I've come across some kind of funny problems. I've solved them, and then I really can't remember all of them.
And why I even ask that question is because I feel there are certain challenges some people didn't overcome, and it now led to imposter syndrome, right? So they begin to doubt themselves, they begin to draw back, right? So what would you say to someone currently going through is going through imposter syndrome and self-doubt? What do you think is the issue, and how did we overcome it?
Yeah, so my first job in Canada was with a major bank, one of the top 5 banks in Canada. And before then, I'd never worked for a bank in Nigeria. And so and the last company I worked in Nigeria before I left was like max 40 people, 40 employees, and then coming into a bank that has, in fact, on one of my interviews, they said this bank has over 11,000 staff. Over 11,000. So it was like dropping me in the middle of the ocean. And then there were some things I didn't know back in Nigeria in software engineering that then they were just, during stand-up, they were just talking about it like, oh, this is a given, this is what we do here. And then you are saying, oh, what's this thing? I've never heard about this in my life. So to solve imposter syndrome, whenever you are having imposter syndrome, it means two things. One, it means you are growing. You are in a new environment that is stretching you, and that's a good sign. And then two, it means you have not done your homework. You have not done enough homework. You have not studied enough. So the solution for imposter syndrome is to get prepared, is to keep studying. So back then when I was on that team, whenever we finish the stand-up during the day, I'll be taking notes. All those terms, all those things I don't understand. At night, I'm up all night studying, trying to catch up, trying to understand what does this thing mean? What does this thing mean? And then in the next morning, I'll be able to have better conversations. I'll be able to speak more clearly about that. If I still had doubts, I would be able to ask intelligent questions on the next meeting day. And then I had supportive colleagues. So there was this Chinese guy. Whenever the Scrum Master noticed that I was lost, he would say, "Oh, pair with that guy," and then they would tell the guy to, "Can you assist Caleb?" And so I would tag along with him. And those guys, they really helped me. So it's good to be in supportive teams so that whenever you are feeling imposter syndrome, they can carry you along, and then you need to level up as fast as possible so that you don't stay in that position for too long. So that will help you really when you have supportive colleagues. So whenever you are slacking, they can quickly say, "Oh, guy, we know you have potential. This is how you do it. This is how you do it." And then you too, you can quickly level up.
Well, I'm going to switch conversation a little bit higher, right? So what's one project that you're most proud of that you have worked on?
Yeah, so there was this role. We were using a SaaS provider. That's another vendor that was keeping all the logs for the enterprise, for the whole company. And like I mentioned, the bank was spread across Asia, had offices in several countries in Asia, North America, and all that. So the vendor we're using was storing all our logs in AWS. So at the point we needed to move to Azure. That's Microsoft, and then we had logs, thousands of terabytes with that software provider. So we needed to move them to Azure, the new platform where we're migrating to. And I just joined the team. And so the senior manager, the skip level manager that I was working on that just threw it open and said, "Who wants to take on this thing? We have this challenge." And he threw it open and said, "Oh, can maybe 3 of you go and look for a solution?" And over the weekend, I was able to experiment. So I have an AWS account, I have an Azure account, I have a Google Cloud account, and I'll talk about that later. So I was able to simulate. I had like 10 files in AWS, and then from Azure, I was able to pull those 10 files and pull them over to Azure from my AWS account, and that was the solution. So when it worked for just those 10 files, I knew that was the solution. And the next week, I was able to do a proof of concept at work, and even till today, it became one of the selling points, one of my selling points. Because when it worked for those 5 files that were under 50 meg, then I was able to apply the same code, and it was able to move the thousands of terabytes that we had. And I think even after the migration, that code still kept working for up to 1 year. I think they just recently switched it off. So that code I did on a weekend in my house, and then I was able to do a proof of concept at work, and it became a selling point for me. I used it on other interviews, and it's though the code belongs to the company, but that thought process is mine, and I'll keep talking about it.
Wow, thank you so very much, right? And I feel that's like a badge of honor, which kind of gives you access when people are saying, "What kind of project have you won?" It kind of give you room and give you access to rooms people never thought it was possible, right? But thank you so much for sharing that story, right? And for me, it kind of leads us to the next conversation, right? I've been hearing a lot of people have been talking about cloud, AI, DevOps, and the list goes on, right? People are saying AI will take over people's jobs and all that. But what do you see? What are the opportunities you see coming in the next 5 years?
I think the cloud will still be present because the cloud is like the internet. When the internet first came, there were skeptics. There were people that kept thinking, oh, the internet can never affect my business. My business, you cannot. You mean, how can I send money to my brother in the UK, or how can my brother in the UK send me money? What does that have to do with the internet? Back then, people just thought the internet was about making phone calls over VoIP and all that. But then the internet started finding uses in so many different use cases, even up to healthcare. So I think the cloud will still keep eating up businesses. What I mean by eating up businesses is people will keep finding use cases for the cloud, even in areas we don't know of today. Don't be surprised. One day you'll be able to do a carpentry job from the cloud. I'm not saying
Mm,
I'm not saying that's the way it will happen verbatim. I'm saying there may be some kind of solution around it. So I think we still haven't got all the uses for the cloud. The cloud is here to stay. AI, same thing with AI. Right now, the noise about AI is so big,
yeah.
and the use cases have just started coming up.
Mm,
Sometimes when I'm browsing the internet, I see how to use AI in risk and regulations, how to use AI in entertainment, how to use AI in education. So I think AI still hasn't got all the use cases. There will still be use cases coming up for AI, and the bedrock of AI is data.
mm,
AI needs solid, clean data
mm.
to be able to do all its inferences, all its predictions, and all that. So, data scientists, data engineers, data analysts, there will still be jobs for them. There will always be jobs for them. There has been lots of talk about AI replacing developers and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Right now, AI is producing code that is more than 15% right. But in terms of quality code, readable code, AI hasn't gotten it yet. It's still trying to get it, but one day it may eventually be. So that even leads me to the point that we people that studied computer science, it's time to get scared for us because we don't know anything else. And when AI replaces us, then we don't know anything else. Like all my life, I've always done IT. I've never done anything else. So what skill would I learn at old age? Maybe I should learn how to do. Oh, you saw me doing grill now. You know
yeah.
that.
Green engineering.
Yeah. So right now I'm learning how to use the grill so that when AI takes my job as a platform engineer, I'll just be doing barbecue or roasting barley, roasting
Yeah.
plantain. I'm just joking.
That's a good one, actually.
So
And
so I think everyone should have a domain of knowledge, a domain of expertise, and then be able to apply AI to it.
hmm, wow, thank you so very much, right? And for me, I feel it kind of leads us to the next conversation, right? So we have young Africans, young, not just Africans, but young individuals that are going to be watching this video, right? And they're looking for how to enter into the global tech, into tech spaces, right? What kind of mindset do you think they need to have?
Yeah, so it's a good time to be alive with the internet, social networks. You can go on LinkedIn, talk about the things you know, um, put out put out your GitHub repos. GitHub is where you upload your codes and all that. Or even do a demo. You can record a video of a demo of something you did. You can write talks. You can write some paragraphs about things you've been doing or things you are trying to do. Projects. You can showcase yourself. You can sell yourself, and you don't know who may be watching, right? And being consistent, staying consistent on that. I think that's a good way showcase yourself, to sell yourself. I think that's even more powerful than having certifications.
Yeah.
Although certifications also sell you,
Yeah.
but those projects which you showcase will give you credibility. You can become a thought leader by just
Yeah.
posting consistently, posting valuable stuff. And the power of those social networks is maybe someone in Toronto likes your comments. People that are also in Toronto that are connected to that guy will see that's your post that he liked, and then they start spreading it. So it's interesting, and you can use the power of social networks, professional social networks to sell yourself out there. I don't know who may be watching. In 2018, I wrote AWS DevOps professional, and then I applied on LinkedIn, and a company in Berlin wanted to hire me as a DevOps engineer in 2018.
Oh.
So once you have the skill, you can apply on LinkedIn to all these places, and you may be lucky. If you really know your stuff, you pass the interview, and yeah, you get the opportunity, and you'll be able to move.
Well, thank you so much, right? Wow. So now I feel in order for us not to leave some people out, right? So I know we have been talking about technical stuff, but for people that are not in tech, right? What do you think they need to? Because everybody feels that tech, everybody needs to code. There's this perception that anybody in tech, you must know how to code, right? But I feel beyond coding, are there other ways people can strive in the tech spaces?
Yeah, I would like to give an analogy. Just like not everybody that works in a hospital is a doctor. Not everyone that works in a bank is a teller, or not everyone that works in a bank studied banking and finance. Not everyone that works in a hotel studied hotel and catering management, catering and hotel management. You get?
Yeah.
In a hotel, you may find people that are accountants. In a bank, you will find engineers.
Yeah.
In a hospital, you find people that work in the generator room. So what I'm trying to bring out is, yeah, in tech, writing code or being a developer or being a software engineer is like the heart of tech. But not everyone has to be a software engineer, right? In tech, you need people that do corporate communications. Like I have a friend that works in a big bank here in Canada. She does corporate communications. And don't be surprised, they may move her into a technical team. And then all what she needs to do is put out communications about new product releases, new versions of the app that they have, communication about downtime and all that. So what's your area of strength? What's your domain knowledge? Are you coming from a risk and credit background? Are you coming from a mass communication background? Are you coming from an engineering background? And be able to apply that into tech. Be able to see how can I apply tech into this my domain, and then know about basic tech. You can use an app. You can do a little bit of search. You can search on the internet. You can use ChatGPT and things like that. I think you can find your way into tech, because not everyone. If everyone is coding, so who will be using the apps?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if everyone is a platform engineer, so who will be the users of the platform?
Yeah.
You get? And I think it applies to everyone trying to get into tech. I don't think everyone should get into tech. I mean the core tech kind of thing. Not everyone should be a scrum master. Not everyone should be a product owner. there was a time when everyone wanted to be a business analyst. I don't know if they are still becoming a business analyst these days. All those people that wanted to be business analysts yesterday, some of them can actually be good. In fact, you find some of them that left clinical research, pharmacy, and then they say they want to be business analysts. So I don't think you should abandon what you studied in school. Yeah, you may get into tech to maybe find your foot and all that, but the power of this whole hustle is being able to apply your domain knowledge into your being able to apply tech into your domain knowledge and creating a product to solve a problem that you have identified in your domain. I still refer to the previous episode you had with that mining engineering guy. If he hasn't forgotten everything about mining engineering, now is the time for him to create that app and solve that problem in his domain, because he's the only one that knows his domain well enough. And then now he knows tech to be able to solve that problem. And that would be a double-edged sword. That would be a killer. Yeah. So I think that's the way to approach it. So not everyone should abandon their first love. That thing you already studied in school, that thing you have mastery in, just combine tech with it and you'll be fine.
Well, before we round down this particular session, right, I want to ask like a rapid fire random kind of question, right? Which will you choose, Python or Bash?
Python, because too much Bash can give you a headache. It can bash your brain.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the next one. AWS or Azure?
AWS has bigger following, has a bigger market share. But if you are looking at enterprises like big financial organizations and all that, most of them use Azure. But if you are looking at market share, startups and all that, AWS. So AWS has a bigger following. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the last one before we move into the last set of, before we begin to wind down, right? So early bird or night owl?
I'm an early bird. Anything from 9:30 p.m., my eyes become half closed. But when I wake up in the morning, like 4:30, 4 a.m., my brain is still fresh. There is no distraction. And another good point is sometimes when I have things to solve and I have lingering problems at work or technical challenges to solve, I keep that in my head and I go to bed.
Wow.
So just like the other guy said, just let your subconscious work on it. So the guy in the previous episode mentioned it, and I think it works. So when you keep things in your subconscious as a developer, as a technical person, your brain does its work. Your brain solves it. And there's also this very interesting thing, one peculiar thing about. So when you are doing things that distract you from that lingering problem, then you find the solution. Sometimes I find the solution when I'm doing the dishes, when I'm washing plates, and I'm just doing something manual, something not related to tech as well, something not related to work. And then as I'm doing the dishes, my brain just hits me with the solution and I say, oh, wow. So this is what I've been trying to solve all this while. And either I quickly rinse my hand and go and solve that thing, or I put a mental note and say, when you finish doing these dishes, go and try that stuff out. Or sometimes when I'm taking a shower and then the solution just comes and say, oh, before I get dressed, I quickly come and put on my computer and solve that thing. So most times too, when you go to bed with something on your mind, in the middle of the night, maybe it's one spirit that brings that solution. I don't know that thing, no. But most times when you wake up in the morning, and sometimes when you're working on a problem for too long, you become spent, you become tired. But when you wake up with a fresh eyes, fresh brain, or you can just put on one lovely music and leave it in repeat and let it repeat like 300 times, the solution will just come. So I'm an early bird.
Wow, thank you so much, right? And it kind of leads us before we wind down the whole session, right? I'm going to ask you, the last few discussions we'll have, right? So if you're not in tech, where do you think yourself, where will you find yourself in today?
I don't know. I could have been anything. Back then, when I was growing up, I was a NFA person, no future ambition. I didn't have anything I wanted to be. I just know I don't want to be hungry. I want to have money in my pocket.
Mm.
But as far as picking a profession and all that, I didn't really have any preference. On the lighter note, maybe I would love to be a comedian to just make people laugh. Because it takes lots of intelligence to make people laugh. Oh,
True,
because for you
true.
to be able to bring their experiences and make them, even the people that are tired of life, that want to give up,
Yeah.
and then you make them laugh, you are a smart person. So maybe if I had enough money and I didn't need to work again, I'll try comedy. I'll try to make people laugh. And
Wow.
when I make people laugh, sometimes I laugh at my jokes too, and I think,
Yeah.
oh, you're a very stupid guy. You are very funny.
Wow. All right. So I was asking the next. So I feel, what are some productivity hacks or tools that you kind of use on a day-to-day basis that has helped you?
So some tools that I would like to use, but I think I'm not fully utilizing them right now, is the cloud, all these code assists. So the previous guy mentioned, he talked about cursor and things like that. I would like to know how to use them because I think I'm getting to be a dinosaur in those areas. So I would like to use them. But one hack that has always worked for me, because I've worked a lot in the cloud, is I have my own personal cloud account, whether it's AWS, whether it's Google Cloud, whether it's Azure. If I'm solving any problem at work and I need to simulate the same environment, if I need to solve the same problem, of course, I don't copy the data from Office to my personal account. Or no, I just simulate the same problem in my personal account. And once I'm able to fix it there, I just bring that knowledge and then take it to work. And it becomes as if, oh, there's one spirit that is giving you all the solution. No, it's because I have a lab environment in my personal account.
Mm.
And then I'm able to crash anything. I'm able to spin up anything. I'm able to destroy anything once I don't need it. And sometimes it backfires. So there was a time I was trying to solve something at work. I was trying to migrate a database to a newer version and all that. So I simulated the same environment on my personal account and then forgot to shut down the database server. And at the end of the month, they gave me my bill over $400 for forgetting to shut down something I was experimenting with. So you also need to watch out for the cloud cost. So as you are doing your simulation, doing your lab environment, please remember to turn off those your resources in your personal account, because so they won't hit you with 2,500 bill at the end of the month. And then when you convert it to Naira, you say, this thing can buy me a plot of land.
I'm
Oh.
telling you. Wow. And it kind of leads me to the next kind of discussion before we call it a day, right? What's one misconception people have about working in both in financial or in tech companies?
So if you are working for financial companies, especially for big enterprises, there are layers of bureaucracy.
Mm.
What I mean is so many do's and don'ts, so many guardrails. For example, you can't work with you can't access people's private information.
Yeah.
You can't just create this server. You can't just do anything you like. Things that you do in your personal account or things that you do in a startup and get away with it, because in a startup there is room for experimentation, room for trial and error. When you work for big enterprises, you are restricted in a lot of things. There is so much red tape, so much bureaucracy, so much approval and send email and saying this is the obvious thing to do, but then you need approvals and approvals and approvals, and then you get. But the good side is Financially, it's rewarding. You meet lots of people. You
Yeah.
get lots of experiences with data, with scenarios, and all that. So misconceptions about tech generally. People think tech is easy and all that. But
Mm.
guy, you must be ready to burn the hours. You must be a very patient person. You are someone that doesn't count the hours when you are trying to solve a problem. There was a time I was trying to solve a problem for 2 weeks and I couldn't solve it. And the simple solution was the person I inherited that project from, I should have simply asked them and said, this and this and this is the challenge I'm facing. And that guy would have explained to me. But I don't know whether it's ego
Mm.
thinking, oh, I can figure this out on my own. Or maybe I just didn't want to disturb the guy. And it took me 2 weeks. Eventually, to solve that problem, he eventually gave us the solution. He gave me a hint how to solve it. So I couldn't even solve it on my own. And that project failed because that 2 weeks was crunch time.
Mm.
And it failed because of. And another lesson I've learned so far is when I think it's in your next question, right? Or should I talk about it now?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when I was in the earlier days of my career, I used to think I would write everything from scratch. So there were tools that you could do drag and drop. So back then I
Yeah.
was writing Java. I was writing Java and all that. And NetBeans. NetBeans is an IDE that just come out then. And with that, you could create user interfaces that would generate the code for you in the back end, in the background. So I used to think, oh, I'm going to write all the code to create this button, to create that checkbox, to create that dialog box. And I was doing everything from scratch. And that took me time. That was taking all my time. In fact, I lost a project because of that, because all the time that would have sped up my development, I was using it to write irrelevant code that software can generate for me.
Mm.
And using software to do drag and drop, I would have just done the user interface in like 1 hour and then have more than enough time to do the coding.
Mm.
But all the time I should have used to do real work in the back end, I was using it to write user interface, and it wasn't even as perfect as the drag and drop. So you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. So I
Yeah.
think that's a misconception.
Yeah.
Always look for tools to make your life easier, and I think that's what all these AI tools are doing these days.
Yeah.
So you don't have to break your head against the wall and do, oh, I can do everything, I'm a superman. No, no, no. There are tools that can help you speed up your work.
Mm. Well, thank you so much. So this is the last part of the discussion, right? Where we just kind of round it down. It says, I'm going to ask for someone that is kind of we have talked so much and we talked at length, right? So, but for someone who is watching us right now and feels it's too late to get into tech, what advice will you give them?
I think you have to be cautious because tech is not in a good state right now. There are lots of layoffs. You have to manage your expectations. Tech is not the end of the world. Uh, Although you should know how to use tech tools, but don't abandon your domain. Don't you abandon your background experience because you want to move into tech.
Mm.
Know your domain well and be able to apply tech to it. And I think that's so. Just approach it cautiously, not jump into tech with both feet and thinking, oh, that will make me a millionaire next week. No, manage your expectations. Even I've been in tech for over 15 years. I'm not a millionaire yet. I'm still praying to God. Maybe it will
Yeah.
happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
God knows. But manage your expectations. Don't abandon your domain. Look for a way to apply tech to your domain. And then it's not too late to start. In fact, we live in very good times now. There is almost nothing you want to learn from YouTube, from the internet that you cannot learn. There are so as experienced as I am, I still look. If I still need to learn something in tech, I still go to YouTube to give me simple videos, explain it to me in a very simple way. So take it step by step, start with YouTube, and then if you find something that interests you, then maybe you can go for a boot camp. I'm not selling a boot camp. I don't own a boot camp. I'm just saying, okay, if something now piques your interest, then you can then go to pick any of these good boot camps and enroll. But going to a boot camp first before deciding what you want to do is a way to waste your money. So get the interest. What am I interested in? And then you look for deeper knowledge. Yeah, that's it.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Do have a great time. Thanks.
Thank you.